With all the big Final Fantasy games coming out, it can be easy to forget about the series creator Hironobu Sakaguchi himself. After leaving Square Enix in 2003, he founded Mistwalker, and after creating games like Blue Dragon and The Last Story, has invested in mobile game titles. And now, with the release of Fantasian, he's combining his experience with single-player RPGs with the capabilities of modern mobile devices. As the creator of Final Fantasy, his career has been frequently intertwined with different kinds of art and design. In the early days, it was all about how many pixels they could add to the screen, filling out the world with detail until it finally came alive with Final Fantasy VI. Then there was the move to 3D, where they invested in paintings that the 3D characters would be able to explore. And finally, there is what we have today with full 3D environments. But Fantasian looks to be returning to the feeling of stuff like Final Fantasy VII, where sure you're walking around on a painting, but there's still plenty to explore and find. But in the case of Fantasian, it's not paintings, but rather real-life dioramas that have been scanned in to take the place of 3D environment art. There have been attempts in the past to replicate the handcrafted look, but Sakaguchi decided to just go ahead and actually create the environments in real life. His fascination with dioramas started with Terror Wars, where they used them for simple backgrounds. But that game was extremely short-lived, with it being shut down within the same year it was released. But the dioramas were still a good idea, one that Sakaguchi wanted to carry on with, and instead of them just being the background for a battle stage, they are now being used to create an entire world. Terror Wars supplemented these backgrounds with claymated characters, which was also a great idea, but this time it's a bit closer to stuff like Final Fantasy VII, using appealing 3D character models based on illustrations by Mistwalker's Takatoshi Goto. It doesn't exactly blend well together, but then again, neither did Final Fantasy IX, which boasted these incredibly detailed fantasy backgrounds, and then you've got Steiner bumbling about over them. Sometimes incongruity can be a style, and it's not like Fantasia's dioramas have cut 2D artists out of the pipeline, since these are all based on 2D concept art. The only difference is that once they've made the dioramas and scanned everything in, they can't really change things without having to go back to the original diorama, so they need to be paying attention to level design from the very start. Sakaguchi said that this was a game that shouldn't be made due to this very particular development pipeline, but of course, the advantage is that it stands out from any other RPG. But he still wants to evoke the feelings of Final Fantasy, and one of the main ways of doing that is the soundtrack, composed by Sakaguchi's close friend Nobuo Uematsu, who inferred that it may be the last full soundtrack that he works on. Mistwalker is a small team, but to create Fantasian, they've received the backing of Apple Arcade, which is putting hundreds of millions of dollars into game development for their platform. And while stuff like World's End Club first launched on Apple Arcade, the full version is on its way to Nintendo Switch soon, so hopefully we get the same good news from the Fantasian team. Thanks for watching OTAQUEST in Japan. Feel free to subscribe to find out more about the art and creation of Japanese pop culture.